Welcome back. So as I continue to look at teams as we get closer to the trade deadline, I want to look at the Washington Capitals. So the Capitals are an interesting team in that we see 8 teams in the East that are above the playoff line, 8 teams below, and there's very little, very little chance that a team below that playoff line can actually threaten one of the top 8. But at the bottom of the top 8 is Washington, and there have been times recently where they've looked vulnerable. There might be moves that need to be made at the deadline, but there's no cap space. According to Cap Friendly, their deadline cap space $155,834. The one thing that stands out to me with the Capitals is they are an older team. And they're a team that it does feel like they're middle of the road. They might be capable of putting on, a hot streak and win themselves, say, I don't know, 5 or 6 games in a row, get themselves up in the and maybe go on a bit of a run in the playoffs, but are they actually a Stanley Cup threat? And I think that's still up in the air. So their 612 points percentage is 12th in the NHL. Again, a lot of teams at 600 or above. Their 3.24 goals scored per game is 10th in the NHL, allowing 2.76 goals per game. They're 8th in that area. Their power play, 17.6%, which is 26th. They've been as low as 29th, so at least that's come up from where it was. Their penalty kill, 81%. That is 12th overall in the NHL. One interesting thing, too, is their face-offs this season. 47.2%. They are 30th in the NHL. So if you are a believer that, winning face-offs is really, really important, Washington does struggle in that regard. Now, their overall record of 31-18-9, they're the number 2 wild card. Their goal differential, they've scored 28 more goals than they've allowed. Their numbers are pretty good. But the question becomes one of, okay, so if they end up in a wild card spot, if they end up in the number 1 or number 2 wild card, right now, the wild cards would have to play either Carolina or Florida. Carolina and Florida both look like teams that are ready to go on nice long runs. And they're both teams that play a very good transition game. They are fast teams. Both of them have 83 points, and again, we could see Florida or Carolina winning that division. So, which team would Washington have a better chance against? The recent playoff history would tell you it may not be Carolina. So, they win the Stanley Cup in 2018. 2019, they lost in the first round against Carolina. 2020, they lost in the first round against the Islanders, and last year they lost in the first round against Boston. So losing in the first round against Carolina in 2019, I would argue Carolina's a better team right now than they were in 2019, and I'm not sure that the Capitals are as good as they were in 2019 when they were coming off of a 2018 Stanley Cup. Now, when we get into the team, and again, lines change, this is not, set in stone or anything. Ovechkin, 36 years of age, 58 games, 36 goals, 34 assists, 70 points. His points production has fallen off from where it was earlier in the season, but it's still excellent. He still has a very good chance of finishing with more than 90 points this year. And he still has an outside shot at maybe a 50-goal season, but at the very least, he should hit 40, which at age 36 is nothing short of remarkable. Kuznetsov's 29 years of age, 55 games, 16 goals, 37 assists, 53 points. And the reason I point out Kuznetsov's age is because their centers, you have Kuznetsov's 29, Backstrom's 34, Eller's 32, Dowd's 31. So the uncomfortable situation you find yourself in if you're Washington is if this team loses in the first round again, you're looking at an aging roster. Your center spot, they're all almost 30 years of age or older. And once Kuznetsov hits 30, they're all 30 or older. And so I think there's a question to be asked then about what do you do? Do you go into some sort of a retool? How does this work? And with Ovechkin being signed for next year and beyond, I'm not sure that there's any desire to go into any kind of a retool. Tom Wilson, 54 games, 18 goals, 21 assists, 39 points. I think it's the best season he's ever had. Wilson has mostly kept his nose clean this year too. So that's important. They need him in the lineup. It doesn't do them any good if he's getting suspended. Anthony Mantha, who's back now, 13 games played for him, 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points. He is a key guy. They need that depth scoring. You have Backstrom, 25 games, 4 goals, 14 assists, 18 points, 34 years of age there. TJ Oshie's 35. He's played 24 games, 6 goals, 9 assists, 15 points. So with Oshie back in the lineup, with Mantha back in the lineup, the Capitals are in a position where they have a lot of guys right now who are not playing, who are either healthy scratches or in the minors, who are pretty good players. So there's a lot of depth here. But do they need another top six forward? Would there be the concern that we go past the trade deadline and then there's an injury that takes place that submarines their chances for playoff success? It's an important question to ask, but again, they've had their depth tested this year, and the results sometimes teams play better when there's guys that are out hurt. They're out there. I don't know whether it's certain guys are playing harder or what it is, but it can happen. Connor McMichael, 53 games, 7 goals, 8 assists, 15 points. Okay season for him. He's young. They're bringing him along slowly. Lars Eller, 32 years of age, 51 games, 8 goals, 14 assists, 22 points. You know what you're getting with Eller. The good thing with Eller is he can move up the lineup for short periods of time if he needs to, and it doesn't hurt the team. Connor Sherry, 48 games, 15 goals, 14 assists, 29 points. Sherry's been very good this year. I think he's really enjoyed his time in Washington. He is 29, so he's on the almost 30 crowd with Kuznetsov. A lot of guys who are older in this group. Janssen Fialbi, 11 games, two assists for him in Washington this year. He's up right now. I don't have Scarbosa on the crowd, or on the board, I should say. Scarbosa's kind of been a victim of a very crowded group of forwards. And while he's played, I think it's 10 games and 2 goals, 2 assists, I don't necessarily see him coming in. It's possible they call him up. And now that I've said it, they'll call him up. Be like, he's not on the board. We got to call him up. Nick Dowd, 45 games, 8 goals, 9 assists, 17 points. He's 31 years of age, but he is one of the better fourth-line centers in the league. I'm not sure how you measure fourth-line centers. Do you measure them by face-offs? Do hits then come into that? Do you get into the advanced stats on how they do when they're on the ice and high danger chances against? However you measure it, I would think Dowd would be pretty good, and he can put the puck in the net every now and then as well. Last night against Calgary, an excellent game. Then you have Garnet Hathaway. I've been a Hathaway fan for a long time. He's 30 years old now. 53 games, 10 goals, 10 assists, 20 points. So this is a really good forward group. Your top 6, as long as it can stay healthy, is very good. But in the playoffs, can they equal a Carolina? Can they equal a Florida? Let's just say, for the sake of argument, they somehow get third in the division. How would they fare against Pittsburgh, or how would they fare against the New York Rangers? And so I think there's still a lot of questions with this Capitals team, that if they go out in the first round again for a 4th straight year, then what? So Ferravari's been quite the story for them on the blue line. 55 games, 4 goals, 7 assists, 11 points. And on a team where you don't have a ton of young players right now that are, dotting the lineup, he's been very good. He's a good, solid defensive defenseman. John Carlson, 32 years of age, 54 games, 10 goals, 35 assists, 45 points. I think when we come out of this era and we look back on it, Carlson's going to be one of those defensemen that we say he's really underrated. He was underrated throughout his entire run in Washington. He's very good. Orlov's had a good year too, 30 years of age, 54 games, 9 goals, 17 assists, 26 points. Then you've got Jensen, 31 years of age, 52 games, 4 goals, 12 assists, 16 points for him. Jensen had, I think, 3 assists last night. It felt like I was writing his name on the board a lot. Van Riemsdyk, not James, but Trevor Van Riemsdyk. 53 games, 1 goal, 12 assists, 13 points for him. He's also 30 years of age. Justin Schultz is 31. He's a UFA this summer. 50 games for him, 2 goals, 12 assists, 14 points. The blue line's good. It is. It's very good. Could they use another depth defenseman there? Yeah, probably. I would think if they're able to free up some cap space at the deadline, or you trade money out and bring money in. That's the way that's going to work for them. The question mark really comes down to, so while the age of the players it's not a problem, but it does show that you need to win. If you're going to win another Stanley Cup to go with the 2018 Cup, you kind of need to do it soon because time doesn't go backwards. Sadly, I've looked into it. Hollywood's lied to me. So you've got 2 goaltenders here who are both restricted free agents this coming summer. And I think there's a lot of questions with both, aren't there? So you have Vanacek, 13, 7, and 5, 919 save percentage. He was a Seattle Kraken member. They may retire his jersey at some point, but he comes back to Washington, and he's been very good. He's been the better of the 2 goaltenders. But Samsonov has the better record, 17, 9, and 3, with a 901 save percentage. Samsonov's had trouble keeping the puck out of the net. Vanacek has won 13 out of 25 decisions. So it's probably going to be Vanacek in the playoffs. But again, Coming back to that matchup question, you have Vanacek at one end of the ice and Bobrovsky at the other, or Anderson, or Shesterkin, or Jari. Now, if we get Pittsburgh and Washington somehow, some way, I'd be happy. I think that series would be fantastic, and I think of the teams in the East, Pittsburgh might be the one that Washington would have the best chance against. Just because of familiarity and just because immediately the emotions would ramp up, the hatred would be in there, and I think everybody would be engaged. And we may see that with Carolina, but Carolina's also, just on paper, they're such a good team, and they're able to play that transition game. Pittsburgh and Washington are in similar positions. Pittsburgh, of course, not having won a round since 2018. Washington not having won a round since 2018. Both of them with older veteran players that are trying to win that last cup. So it would be very interesting if they played off against one another. To see that, it looks like they both have to win the first round, and winning the first round is going to be a tough challenge for the Caps. So Sprong's here. He's a restricted free agent. 43 games, 8 goals, 5 assists, 13 points. He plugs into the lineup. He gives you a little bit of energy. He does have goal-scoring ability there as well. Kempny, extra defenseman, UFA this summer. He's 31. He's played 10 games, has 1 goal, 1 assist this year. You have Matt Irwin, 13 games and 2 assists. He's a UFA this summer. He's 34. And again, it's depth. All that depth, right? But if you don't trust Kempny and Irwin for more than 10 or 13 games, then maybe you go out at the deadline and you pick somebody up. Maybe you waive a defenseman and you pick somebody up. So we'll see what they do. You have Leeson, restricted free agent this summer, 35 games, 3 goals, 3 assists. Good young player. Definitely bottom 6 upside is there. There may be some top 6 at some point in his career, but right now he looks like a bottom 6 forward at the NHL level. And Alexei Protas, who I know they're excited about, 33 games, 3 goals, 6 assists, 9 points. Protas has a ton of potential. And it's about being able to take that potential and making it work and having him realize that potential. That's where the challenge lies. Phoenix Copley, 0-1 record in his appearances with Washington this year, .878 save percentage. He's a UFA this summer, and I think he's been usurped as the number 3 guy in the organization by Zach Fucale, who in his call-up was 1-1-1 with a .924 save percentage. So Fucale's also signed next year, so he may very well be the number 3 in the organization going forward. You have Hagelin, of course, who's on IR. Concerns about his vision with the most recent injury he suffered. 53 games, 3 goals, 11 assists, 14 points. He's 33 years of age. I could see at the deadline them going out to pick up a forward to replace Hagelin because they don't know when he's getting back. And then you have Snively, who in 12 games, 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points. He's a UFA this summer. And Snively kind of seemed to come out of nowhere and show some upside at the NHL level. And so there's definitely depth here. But again, you can't have too much of that. So some kind of a shuffling at the deadline would not surprise me. But I'm trying to figure out what part of this team I look at right now and I say they could go on a run because in the East, it's going to be tough. It will be a bloodbath. But again, a year older, they've lost in the first round 3 years in a row. The last time I had this level of doubt when it came to Washington, they won the Cup in 2018. So it can happen. It can absolutely happen. Ovi could go on a run. Vanacek could all of a sudden become a wall in the playoffs. And just the scoring depth they have, it could work, but it is going to be a real challenge because whoever they end up against in the first round, in all likelihood, whether it's Florida, whether Tampa ends up winning that division, whether it's Carolina, whatever happens, it is going to be a great challenge to get through not just the first round, but to maybe go beyond. So do they have enough? Do they have a team that's built to win another Stanley Cup? Or is it going to be a one and done for Ovechkin and for this team? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happen upon this video. And if there's a spot this team needs to add, let me know your thoughts. And I've seen the comments about, if Fleury was willing to go to Washington, Marc-Andre Fleury, I really can't see that. But stranger things have happened. Let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. And hey, I'll talk to you again soon.